Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be comparing a Ford Bronco Sasquatch to a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon with the Xtreme Recon package. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Large Miller Ford here in Provo and the Dodge Ram Jeep Chrysler here in Provo for giving me some time with both of these vehicles. Both of these are available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, link to both their websites in the description down below. Link to my car buying guide as well. Let's get right into it. Under the hood of the Wrangler is a 3.6 liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy 16 around town and then 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 285 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque. Now powering the Bronco is a turbo 2.7 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed, fuel economy 17 around town and then 17 on the highway, with power outputs being 330 horsepower and then 415 pound-feet of torque. Before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting things off with the Wrangler, this is a Rubicon with the Xtreme Recon package. So we've got the cool hood vents there, and then I like the new grille style with the Wranglers. This also has a winch integrated from the factory, and then you've got this hardcore off-road bumper from the factory as well. But yeah, it's got that signature Jeep look, and the Bronco has the signature Bronco look. Now this is the Wildtrak package, so you can see you've got the cool decals. Something that's really cool about the Bronco in general is the mirrors are attached to the body, so you can take the doors off, still have mirrors. And then look at the grills all blacked out. And then just like the Wrangler, we've got a hardcore off-road bumper up front. But let me know which one you like better. Do you like that kind of like grayish Wrangler, or do you like the OJ edition with the Bronco? Now, a really cool part with both these packages is they both have 35-inch tall tires from the factory, 17-inch wheels. A little bit different style with the wheels. They're both kind of like beadlock style. So here's the Wrangler wheels. Then here's the Bronco. You can see the Bronco spokes kind of like chunkier, a little bit more closed off. And then different tires with them, as you can see. Now with the Wrangler, it has a solid front axle. Just have the regular like Mopar shocks with the Wrangler. With the Bronco, it's got independent front suspension, so that's a big difference. And you got Fox shocks, so a little bit of a different setup there. And then I'm showing the rear so you guys can see the difference with the fender flares here. Notice the Wrangler has those little extensions with the Xtreme Recon. And then also to mention, we have a solid rear axle on both of them. Funny enough, this Wrangler has rock rails. This Bronco, you can get rock rails on them, but this particular one just doesn't have them. And then here's your full side profile with the Wrangler. Look at that stance. And then here's the side profile with the Bronco. Now let's see which swing gate situation is a little bit easier to use. So the Bronco has like multiple compressions, so you kind of got to push it a few times and the window just pops open. Tons of storage space here on the back of the Bronco. You can see the cage there at the top. But yeah, definitely a practical vehicle. Plop that down and then close this. Not too bad. Now with the Wrangler, you don't have any assistance. You got to use just pure muscle, but it's actually easier to open because there's no compression and it doesn't really feel all that heavy, if you ask me. And you got the window. Space is a little bit different in the Wrangler. Looks like it's just a little bit smaller with this kind of center section compared to the Bronco, but it's not bad. And it's cool to see the painted cage just like in the Bronco. And then with the closing, yeah, a little bit, again, easier to use, I think. And then both of them have 35s in the back, of course. You can see full size spare. And then taking a few steps back, oop, fell in a hole there. There's the back. Now in the back of the Bronco, legroom here is pretty solid. Got the window controls there in the center. I like these seats. I think they're pretty cool looking. You can see the headrest there at the top, and then the coloration on the door panel. And the nice top insulation here at the top. And then you also have stadium seating, which is always fun. In the back of the Wrangler, still have good legroom. Got a little storage pocket there. So the vents here in the back, window controls, all of that. And something I want to mention is these seats feel and look a little bit more premium in the Wrangler. So it's got that over the Bronco, I think. Same with the door panel trim, just a little bit more premium. But no stadium seating. It's just kind of like regular. I think it's always good to compare payloads. So we got 982 in the Bronco. And so it's interesting to see with the mirrors not attached to the doors, but start her up. That's kind of like partially analog, partially digital gauge cluster in the center. I think the steering wheel is nice in the Bronco as well. Got a bunch of practical controls, including like our adaptive cruise control, 360 camera system. And then the Wildtrak doesn't have the stabilizer bar disconnect, but you can get that in a Badlands. But we do have front and rear locking diffs, trail turn assist, all of that for off-road stuff. Dual zone climate, heated seats, wireless phone charging pad in front. And then we got an advanced four-wheel drive system with 2-speed transfer case. We also have all the drive modes there as well. Window controls in the center here, which is kind of interesting. We also have the Bronco center console design is also kind of interesting. And just have a regular glove box down below. Bunch of auxiliary switches to add items, and then again hard top here in the Bronco. $850 for the payload in the Jeep, and I like the door closing sound in the Wrangler more. It's just more G-Wagon like, if that makes sense. And like, I don't know, the whole actuation there. But anyways, let's start her up. Interesting. So we've got mostly analog gauge cluster. Some of you might like that a little bit more. And then the steering wheel is nice, I think. Nice trim all around with the red stitching and all that. Still have stuff like adaptive cruise control. With the camera system on the Wrangler, it's just a forward-facing and rear-facing camera, so it's not a 360 camera system. So a little bit different with that side of things. And this is interesting with the new handle and dash design. And then down below, I've got our controls here for the heated seats, heated steering wheel, climate, all of that. Window controls in the center as well. 4 auxiliary switches with the Wrangler. Now the Wrangler, being a Rubicon, has sway bar disconnect as well as front and rear locking diffs. And then you can see with our 2-speed transfer case. And we've got the kind of like cup holder section here, and then the Wrangler center console. And I will say, it just feels kind of like higher quality in the Wrangler with the build quality and the material use compared to the Bronco. And then anyways, hard top insulation. Now when it comes to pricing, the Bronco stickers were about $68K as configured, and that Wrangler is about $75K as configured. And well, let's sum up the comparison. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors do a blind spot monitoring. And got the rest of the rear. So, Bronco Wildtrak. This is the Bronco that went from 0 to hero, in my opinion, because when this first came out, it was basically just a Badlands without a stabilizer bar disconnect, right? And then they, you know, put the Fox shocks in, but then at the same time, they released the Bronco Raptor. And so it was like, oh, cool, the Wildtrak's finally unique. But now there's a cooler Bronco with Fox shocks, right? But now that the Bronco Raptor's been up for a while, I think that this has gone back, or finally reached hero level. And the reason being is because of the price of the Bronco Raptor. When the Raptor first came out, and it was, you know, starting in the 70s, that made this look like nonsense. But now that the Bronco Raptor is $100,000, this looks a lot more appealing, dare I say. So first off, power's great. Really good torque. And this 2.7's been in the F-150s for quite some time. It's a proven engine. It's been proven to be reliable. It's a solid setup. And this drives well. Now, it's not quite as cushy as the Bronco Raptor. It doesn't sit quite as high because it doesn't have 37s, but it still drives really well overall. And it's quick, it's fun. The Bronco Raptor, frankly, doesn't really feel any quicker because it's so much heavier and has bigger tires. This, you know, Bronco on 35s feels pretty much just as quick as the Raptor on 37s and all that. But yeah, it drives well. Let me go over some bumps so I can show you guys the damping. And the Bronco Raptor damping is going to be a little bit better, but these Wildtraks are pretty dang solid, if you ask me. Not the best test. Obviously, the best test would be in the desert. But these shocks do a good job. They're better than the Bilsteins. The Bilsteins are a little bit busier over bumps. These are quite a bit less busy. So putting it all together, the Bronco Wildtrak, sub $70,000. $30,000 less than a Bronco Raptor. I think this is a really cool rig. I think it's kind of underrated now. So let me know what you guys think about the Wildtrak here, but I think that this is a vehicle that went from 0 to hero. Let's talk about visibility in the Wrangler. Start with the hood, both mirrors, do up blind spotting. The rest of the rear, and Xtreme Recon away. So this package only exists because of Ford. When I say what I mean is Jeep was more than content with doing 33s on the Wrangler for everything. And then Ford came along with the Bronco Sasquatch, and Jeep went, boy, well, now we got to re-gear the Wrangler from the factory, and we got to put bigger tires on it, right? Jeep left that stuff up to the owners for the longest time, and now from the factory you can get 35s and a re-geared Wrangler. And let me tell you, it does make quite a bit of a difference. Now you sit higher obviously with 35s, but also this little Pentastar V6 doesn't have all that much power in today's world. And with these 35s, it can move them. It can move them. And I'd say ride quality is good with this. Bigger tires always helps out with smoothing things out. Let's finally get our acceleration here with the Xtreme Recon. Not too shabby. Overall, I think that this drives well, it handles well, and yeah, again, that re-gearing helps out quite a bit with the Xtreme Recon, even though this is a little Pentastar V6. And so when you compare this to the Bronco with the Wildtrak package, my thoughts is that I like the Wrangler, the vehicle, more. I like the solid front axle. I like this interior a little bit more. Again, materials feel a little bit more premium. Winch from the factory is really cool, all of that. But I don't know, this engine, it needs more power. So I think the Bronco has a better engine. I think, and that 2.7's been proven to be reliable. So Bronco has a better engine. I think I like the Wrangler's whole vehicle a little bit more. So if Jeep puts the Hurricane in the Wrangler, I think that they'll end Ford's career, right, so to speak. Yeah, just more power in the Wrangler that's not a 4xe, and you know, obviously you got the 6.4 Hemi, but something that's a little bit more affordable, right? That's not quite as, like, if you had the Hurricane and similar price point to that Bronco, game over. So let me know which one you'd pick, but that's kind of my thoughts. It's kind of engine versus vehicle in my mind with these two.